Hello, one and all, and welcome to a brand new idea. So, for those of you who have been watching for a long time, you will know that Ranting and Racing usually fires off in this slot, and it will, not this week, but not next week because we're traveling back from Nashville next week. But you have come to know Ranting and Racing to start at 7 p.m. And it will continue doing so in the future. But since this is an off week this week in the world of NASCAR, I have decided to trot out a new idea. Although this is a new idea in terms of it coming to the forefront, but this is not a new idea really. I had this idea back when we first got Ranting and Racing onto StreamYard, and I had it in my head to do it as a weekly show, but it didn't come to be until now. Well, this won't be a weekly show. It'll be probably every other week once we get rolling with it. And it will not be on Monday nights in this slot. It will premiere Friday nights at 8 p.m. going forward. So this is just a pilot slash proof of concept episode of a brand new show called The Winner's Circle. Now, what The Winner's Circle will be is it'll be me interviewing various luminaries in the world of motorsports. It could be content creators, it could be crew members for various race teams. It may even be broadcasters or drivers in the near future. It's nowhere but up from here, and I'm very pleased to get this brand new racing related concept up and going. And so my first guest on this first episode of The Winner's Circle, is a dear friend of mine. He has been on Ranting and Racing many times in the past, and you have seen some of his design work in the past as well. And some of his design work in terms of racing has been featured on the racetrack this year, such as at Las Vegas Motor Speedway when Joey Gase ran one of my guest designs on his number 35 Toyota. And I'm very pleased to welcome to the stage for the first episode, this proof of concept episode of The Winner's Circle. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Jordan Tiegs.
Hello.
Hey, sir. Lovely to see you here.
And you as well.
I guess we will start at the very top of everything. Where in this wide world of ours were you born?
I was born at the University of Iowa Hospitals and Clinics in Iowa City at 7:41 p.m. on the 28th of June, 1999.
I like to ask that question whenever I interview someone, where in this wide world of ours were you born? But I can say with confidence that I have never had an answer that detailed to that question.
I want to know the room. I got to find out the room so I can just add that detail in. Because my mom works at the same hospital. She's worked there.
Oh, really?
She's worked in 40 years, something like that. She would know.
I have to ask,
absolutely would.
Was she working in the hospital when you were born?
Well, she wasn't working. She was in labor.
I know that. I'm just saying. No. I wouldn't imply that she was working.
I believe so.
Okay.
I believe so. Be my best guess. No, she has to have been, because she's been working there for like 35, 40 years, and I'm not 40. So
I could just end the interview right here with the but I'm not going to. So you were born in Iowa, and I know a lot of racing seeds have been planted in Iowa, most notably, folks like Dave Despain and folks like that have all come from the great state of Iowa. Landon Castle, who you are repping right now.
Janet Guthrie.
Joey Gase, of course.
Michael Annett.
Yes. A lot, like I say, a lot of racing seeds have been planted in the state of
I,
Iowa.
I didn't know Dave Despain was from here.
Oh yeah, he
I had no
was.
idea.
He lives near. I think he lives near Athens, Georgia now. But I know he was. If he's the one born in Iowa, he's from. He was from the area
Yeah,
because
gotcha.
I remember Despain's dinner with racers thing because he was telling stories about racing. He and his friends racing motorcycles on the Interstate 80 roadbed when they were building the interstate across Iowa.
Interstate 80 is right there.
Uh-huh. And Dave Despain and his friends were racing on the roadbed before it was finished. So
Also, one of the guys you got to watch out for coming up, Sammy Smith.
yes, Sam Smith is going to be
JGR stuff eventually.
Yes. So talk a little bit about when you first started developing a love for racing. Who or what planted the seed inside of you?
I can give you an exact answer. So my first ever exposure to any sort of racing was unbeknownst to me. I don't really recall this very much, but my dad told me that it was a fact. We were flipping through channels on you'll recognize the date. It was he's gone. He's disappeared.
I'm still here.
You're still there.
You're just on solo layout.
That
I have that ability.
But you'll recognize the date. It was the 18th of February, 2001.
Oh no!
It was my dad was flipping through channels, and according to him, I started pointing at the screen because I saw Michael Waltrip's car, and blue is my favorite color. I was 1 at the time. In February of 01, I would have been 1. Jeez. And he said that I started pointing, so we watched the end of the race because there was only like 5 laps to go when he tuned in. So I didn't know it, but I watched Dale Earnhardt pass. And then we just didn't think of anything. He didn't think anything of it. He kept going. Next day, the papers come out. And that was that. But then I had a Joe Nemechek Oakwood Homes number 33 diecast, and I want to say it was Mike Skinner in the Kodiak 4 or the Kodak 4. I had some Winter Circle diecasts of those as a kid, and those are my first ever NASCAR diecast that I ever owned. Wow. But then beyond that, but again, those are just things that I had as a kid. My true introduction to NASCAR was another fateful race, the 2009 Talladega Spring Race.
Oh,
when Carl went flying into the catch fence. Was the first race that I ever watched flag to flag.
I still remember where I was when that crash happened. I remember standing in the living room in there, and I saw Carl get turned, and I saw the ass end of his car go up, and I didn't think nothing of it. I thought he was going to sit back down. But then Newman hit him, and he just went and right into the catch fence floor. And my cousin and uncle were actually at that race.
Were they?
Yes, they were like, I think they were closer to start finish though. And I remember them being pissed that Junior finished the Keselowski.
I had really I knew a few drivers here and there, but I had no real concept of who was popular. I mean, I knew Dale Jr. was the most popular driver. Yeah. And I also know who my favorite driver was because I had developed one long before this, but and by this time the paint scheme that I fell in love with was gone. Yeah, he was irrelevant in that race. So I was just kind of like, I don't know who the hell Brad Keselowski is, but I know Carl Edwards, so let's go Carl. And then that happened. And so that kind of, I guess, birthed the seed for my displeasure with Brad Keselowski and his racing career. We'll get into that a little bit later. But beyond that, if we're talking true introduction to racing, that was the first race that I watched. But the first thing that I saw that made me adore what a NASCAR stock car looks like and is Bobby Labonte's 2008 Cheerios Dodge, the 43 car. I saw that car and I fell in love with it immediately, and it still to this day is my favorite paint scheme of all time. Yeah, it's nothing special, but I love it.
I do love those petty Cheerios schemes. And even going back into the late 90s, I still love those schemes. We were talking about first races. I don't remember the first race I ever watched flag to flag, but I do know the first race I ever caught. It was, and I've told this story before, but it was the 02 fall race at Charlotte. Speaking of Bobby Labonte, Jamie McMurray in just his second ever Cup start, filling in for Sterling Marlin, who I think had crushed vertebra in his neck
crushed vertebrae in
after
his
a
neck
crash
after
in
a wreck
Kansas.
at Kansas, correct.
So McMurray goes out there, puts on a clinic in Sterling's car, and Labonte was just he was
bearing
hard
down on him in his
charging
final laps.
on McMurray, but McMurray held him off in just his second ever start, wins the race. I'll never forget, I was watching McMurray do his burnouts. I remember looking up at Mom. I was like, Mom, why is he spinning out like that? It don't make no sense. But yeah, I would from that point on, I would watch like various races. And like I say, I can't remember what race, the first race I watched flag to flag. I know it wasn't until 2007 that I watched the Daytona 500 flag to
Well, it's a
flag.
good one.
And that race, every time I'll go back on YouTube sometimes and watch the finish of that race. I'll just think to myself, okay, this time Mark Martin gets it. This time he gets it.
That makes both you and I, the first races we watched flag, well, maybe not the first races, but your first Daytona 100 flag to flag, were both super speedways and both saw a driver go to their roof.
Oh, damn. Yeah, that was something. So
the first one I ever caught, not counting the 01 500, I caught, I don't know what the deal is with me and these significant wrecks that take place in races, but I caught, it was a rerun it was like the day after or something like that, because I know it was Monday. Okay. It was a rerun of the 2008 race from Las Vegas that saw Jeff Gordon absolutely pound the inside wall. And I remember they were showing that Nicorette 24 going down the back straightaway, and then since it was a rerun, it wasn't live, they cut programming to go to something else. And I was like, where's the race? Not knowing that it's not on any other channels because it's a rerun. I was just feverishly looking for it, and I could never find it. So I just gave up, and I was really mad about it.
Wow. So tell us a little bit about how you got into design. Because for those of you who don't know, Jordan is a very good paint scheme designer, both virtually and in the real world. And he's finally getting some recognition in the world of NASCAR. As I mentioned earlier, his scheme, or one of his schemes, was featured on Joey Gase's Xfinity Series car earlier this year at Las Vegas Motor Speedway. And we'll kind of start at the top of that. What seeded your want and desire to get into design like this?
There's a few factors that pushed me in that direction. The first one was, once again, that Cheerios Dodge, because when I was still in Boy Scouts, my first ever successful Pinewood Derby car was a recreation. My dad's interpretation on what that car looked like, because he would not let me paint it. He said, "No, I'll paint it. I can make nicer lines than you." And it was the most botched scheme I've ever seen. It was the wrong color entirely. It was everything was, but I still have it somewhere because it was my first and last shot at ever winning the Pinewood Derby, which I didn't. And beyond that, so after that happened, excuse me, so me and my dad, ever since 2009, have been going to a die-cast racing league, and one of the classes for this league was called the theme class when I started, and basically it's like they give you a prompt like 4th of July or Christmas, something like that, and you decorate a car accordingly. And I won that theme class 11 months in a row.
Wow.
And a total of like 16 or 17 times. And because of me, they discontinued the class because people would not enter it anymore.
Oh my God.
Because my decorations were they couldn't compete.
Wow.
So that was really the first time I ever started designing cars, even though it was just buying stuff and putting it on a die-cast car. As far as graphical stuff goes, it takes until high school when I took a introductory Photoshop class, and I actually have these files still saved on my computer. In Photoshop, I just used the paintbrush tool basically and drew out the shape of this would be 2014. It was a Chevrolet SS, a Ford Fusion, and a Toyota Camry. Really crude, awful, disgusting, vile templates that I would make just bullshit race cars on. And I just kept doing it. And then eventually I found a template that I would use to once again very crudely put graphics and decals on, and it was a Chevy SS, and I had to make it into a Camry and a Fusion. It was a nightmare, but I still have every single one of them that I have ever made.
Wow.
And that was 2014 through whenever I graduated from high school. So that would have been 2014 through around 2016 was done like that, and then 2017, which was the year that I graduated, my senior year, I took college classes in high school, which got me access to just more of the Adobe products, more of the Creative Cloud products, like chiefly among which is Illustrator. Adobe Illustrator is the reason why I'm at where I'm at, because it was there that I made a very, what I thought at the time was very detailed, extremely nice looking templates for Cup, Xfinity, and trucks, all three manufacturers, as well as a late model and a modified, among other bodies that I just make. And that's where I started making most of my stuff on. And that was, it came to a head in 2018 on the 12th of October, I want to say, which was when I actually went out and created the Instagram account, Jordan Tiegs Designs, and posted my first car, which I have a picture of. And we can look at where we grew from. All right, it was, you'll like this driver. It was this.
Oh, wow.
It's not good. But for my first attempt, I was pleased with it. I don't think that was the first car I ever posted, but that was the first car I ever made. And then, so to speak, the rest is history.
Wow.
There were a few times, definitely a few times. So that was 2018. Into 2019, I was going strong. I lost my best friend to suicide in 2018. It was the day, or the week, or the weekend, I want to say, before the fall race at Portland. I texted him that morning, before I found out that he'd passed. I texted him because I was going to have my name on the decklet of Joey Gase's car, because he was running for StarCom that weekend, and they were doing a thing where you could just send a message to Joey and he put your name on the car. So I texted him. The last text I ever sent him was, "I'm going to have my name on Joey's car this weekend." And then I got a call from his mom later that day. And one of the first things that I did was I texted Joey, or I emailed his PR person and say, "We need to change that from Jordan Tiegs to Jordan and Matt, so that we could have both of our names on the car." And due to that, I made a logo with purple and teal ribbon and put his initials in the middle of it. And those have been on every single digital race car I've ever made ever since. Wow. And they will continue to be for the rest of time. So that was a big deal. And that was August 23rd, 2018. And then into 2019, things are going strong. Designing a lot of cars, just getting notches in my belt, everything like that, just doing what I can. And it was in 2019 that I had my first opportunity, my first chance, my first taste of something that could be. And it was in the fall of 2019. I got an email from Joey Gase, ironically enough, that made it all come true years later, that he was going to pair up with Donate Life Texas for the fall race at the Texas Motor Speedway, which would end up being I'm living years in the future. But so I had a scheme mocked up. It was going to be a collage car, so it was going to have pictures meshing across the side of the car. I'll pull it up. I have every single file on my phone. It was going to be running for MBM, and this was the scheme. The pictures are just fillers. They would put it in later. Yeah. But across the front, there's all these, I don't know if you can see them, but there's all these ribbons that they would have people's names ghosted into that cover the entire car. And Joey liked it. It was approved, and then the sponsor dropped. So it was my first scheme was gonna be a Cup car, which is not usually how it goes for a lot of people.
Damn.
And fell through, and I was like, dang, that was close. But that really motivated me more than anything. I kept working, and there were a few more deals, all with Joey, that either wound up falling through or just didn't pan out. He's asked me to design numerous cars to pitch to sponsors. I think 2 of which have actually come to the sport, but not with the team.
Oh, wow.
But that's always been fun to work with. But then we hit 2020, and usually that, like, all this time at home, because once I got furloughed from work, I didn't have anything to do. So I was watching a lot of Twitch streams, watching a lot of YouTube videos, literally all day long, while I'm milking that unemployment. And where most people would flourish because you got all this time to be at your computer, I considered quitting my design account because I felt like it wasn't really going anywhere. I hadn't heard anything from anybody in quite some time. So I was like, this isn't going anywhere. We're going to call it. And then I meet a series of guys in a server called Captain's Green Room.
Mm-hmm.
And he had this idea. There was another server that was invited called the Board of Directors. He had this idea to put together a digital racing series, which was at the time called the BOD series, or the Board of Directors series.
Mm-hmm.
And he asked me if I'd like to be a part of it. And I literally joined the server a couple of weeks, maybe prior to this announcement. And I said, yeah, of course. I've always wanted to do an NR offline league. So I had to design a car for me and my, at the time, girlfriend, who also took place in the series. And from there, just kept making schemes for the series, for me and myself, or for her, or anybody else that wanted them. And it was just kind of like a gradual increase into doing what I knew. I won the championship in the inaugural season of that racing series, so that was pretty cool. And then from there, it hasn't ever died. For those of you that don't know who, when I said Captain Green Room is, that's Landon that does Ranting Racing with.
That is my co-host.
He does designs of his own. Captain Designs is his at following, everything like that. He does better work than I could ever dream to, and he is the reason that I didn't quit, because he was showing me stuff he would do. And I'm like, damn, I wonder if I could do that. So I try and just get back into it. But he's the reason that number 35 car made it to the racetrack. Because I was going to quit.
I'm gonna get to that in a second, but I just want to say this: Landon will see the replay of this, and I keep telling him, seeing what you're doing should be the kick in the pants that he needs.
Exactly. He makes so much. He's gonna hate me. He's gonna fucking hate me. I'm trying not to curse you. He's gonna hate me because he hates it when I tell him that his stuff's better than mine. It is, Lamey. It's better. It's better.
Here's the thing, though. This ain't a contest.
He has so much time and it puts so much time and effort into everything that he does, and it looks so good. And he presents so well. He's going to succeed. Going to. It is not good.
For sure. And the thing is, Landon does shit just like that.
Yeah.
You tell him, he's like, yeah, I want to see like a mock-up of this car. I want this sponsor, this number, these colors, and then by the end of the day, it's just whipped up.
He's got like a Google sheet somewhere that just has like a checklist of cars. Yeah, he wants for ideas. He just puts them in there, and that's something I've been meaning. I have been doing slightly. Is I've just been formulating that list. Like, I want to play with this idea. I want to have this concept. I want to make a mock-up of this random driver and this random sponsor.
Yeah,
and I love it. It's the stuff that he does.
I may or may not have about a half a dozen ideas on that spreadsheet. Because I always like daydream, because I've daydreamed full seasons in my head, and I was just like, okay, what would it be like? I'll just get this. Like, this is something that popped into my head today. I'm like, okay, what would it look like if Ross Chastain drove for the Wood Brothers and had Remax as the sponsor? Such
an obscure combination.
Is it though?
I think so.
If Ross didn't get I will say this: if Ross didn't get the Trackhouse gig, I would have wanted him to get the 21.
I think he'd have won it no matter what they'd given him. But
yeah, that's true.
I'm wondering if the 21's not up to speed this year because of the 21, or if it's because of Harrison. I love Harrison, but
I think it's Harrison.
I don't think Harrison's ready for Cup.
If Ross was in that 21, he would be like I think Ross wouldn't be as good as Blaney was in the 21, but I think he'd be better than how DiBenedetto was in the 21.
I think so too.
So you mentioned, and we both have mentioned here, you're getting on one of your designs, getting on the racetrack itself. Tell us a little bit about that process and how everything got put into motion for one of your designs to get on the track in Xfinity.
I think it was the 4th of December of last year that it was whenever it was announced that Joey was going to be a team owner. It was originally announced to be called Joey Gase Racing and JGR, ironically. And I sent a message to my friends and I was like, finally I can cheer for JGR. But it was shortly after that announcement, whenever during the off season, Joey is like, getting sponsors ready to go for Daytona. I got an email about that I had to keep on the down low, on the hush hush, because it was a crypto company that hadn't gone public yet.
Yep.
And it was called Kitty Cat Coin, as we all know now, that beige and black 35 and 53 cars. They were looking for a design to pitch to the sponsor to try to invite them to the sport. And so I made a car, sent it, had it revised, made the revisions, sent it back. And Joey said he liked it. Everything sponsor liked it as well. They just went with a different design, which personally, I think the design they went with slaps the shit out of mine. I think it looks way better than the one I made. So good on them. They landed that sponsor. They went to Daytona. And then eventually I hadn't really heard anything back from Joey on my car. So I eventually went to his email and like, hey, did we ever hear anything from Big Cat? Like, do we know anything? Because at this point, I'm just like, oh, this might be it. I might be going. Because if that team was going to run in February, I would have been at the 500 this year. I would have been in Daytona whole state because I was going to see it. I wasn't going to miss my ski hitting the track. But he said, hey, Jordan, they went with somebody else. But then he said, mark my words, you'll be on track this year. And I was like, is this a thing out of guilt, or is this a thing out of like, we like your stuff and we want to put you through? And I think that it was that option. Joey's not going to waste time with somebody that's making bad looking cars. So eventually months go by, and I get an email about a new sponsor coming to join the car for the California race called One Legacy, which is a subsidiary of basically the Life brand, but in California. So I got to work. I actually already had a design that I thought looked pretty good, and I ordered the colors in. Fun fact is, actually, I have a picture of this one as well. When I made the original One Legacy car, it did not look the way that it originally did not look the way that it did on race day. It originally looked, let me find this image, like, maybe I don't have it saved. Oh, well, I can show you the render. It originally looked more like this than the baby blue. It was much darker.
Wow.
Because I went with kind of the more donut life, darker blue color.
Yeah.
And I sent it a week, so I'll get into the whole sending the files over thing later. But like once the files arrived at the print shop, they took a test print, sent me a picture of it, and they were just like, your render looks lighter than that. Did we lighten the color? I was like, it's Franklin Sign and Graphics. Trent and the whole team over there at the print shop did a great job communicating with me on what they needed and making the adjustments to when I sent them to make the car look good. They sent me a picture of the new color. I was like, that's the one, because the shade of blue that they use is my favorite color. Not because of the scheme, but it stems from my childhood. Big Thomas the Tank Engine fan. That shade of blue immediately registered in my mind as Thomas's color. So I was like, yeah, let's do that one. That thing looks awesome. Conrail will tell you that I should have done the darker blue, but I'm happy with that. But I got that email to start working on that scheme, and I got it done. At this point, I'd finally learned how to render cars in 3D through Blender. Once again, thanks to Captain, Amy, Landon, whatever. So I was able to actually get good-looking 3D like renders. It's starting to get dark out. looking 3D renders of the car. So I got some stuff made. I sent it off to Joey, and he said that he loved it, and he said that the sponsor loved it as well. And I was like, so is this a done deal? And he was like, yeah, I can get you pit passes if you'd like. I was like, it's that easy? What? What do you need? Like, what? Like, so he told me, he put me in an email group with Franklin, the owner of Franklin Sign and Graphics. If anybody out here is looking for any design work done, Franklin Sign and Graphics, go to them. Just go to them. They will help you out. But I think they're over in probably somewhere in the Charlotte area. I'm guessing that's around because they actually take the cars to that shop to get them wrapped. So it can't be far from the race teams. I know that Alpha Prime gets their stuff wrapped there, and a bunch of other guys. But I was starting to email back and forth to Trent, and he sent me actually the file that they used to print the Kitty Cat coin car. And he's like, if you can just lay it out like this, send it to us, we'll print it. The graphic they sent me is to scale. It is 1-to-1. Like it is designed 1-to-1. So I was like, okay, that's fine. It's a big artboard, but that's no problem. That's where I started shitting myself because I discovered the limitations of Adobe Illustrator that day. And a side panel of the car is something around, if I'm remembering correctly, 240 inches, something like that. Illustrator caps out at 227.
Ooh.
So I could not place objects in a certain range. So I was like, well, how am I going to lay? Because how they had it laid out was left door, right door, hood, deck lid, nose, rear bumper panel, everything else was below it. So I had to lay mine out slightly differently, and I was really worried that when I sent them the file, it was not going to work for them. They weren't going to be able to get it printed. And mercifully, I said to them, and they were like, oh, yeah, that works perfectly fine. I was like, and I got that email. Like, I needed to get them the car by the next day. So I was like, I was up until, I remember hitting 5:29 a.m.
Oh, my
on
God.
the day that I worked. I was supposed to be up at 6:30 for work the next morning.
Oh, no.
So I got that sent. I figured there's no way in hell because it's 5:30 in the morning where I am. So it's going to be 6:30 in the morning where they are. So either they're going to be getting up ready for work or still in bed. So I was like, I'll get a response when I'm at work tomorrow. And a full disclosure, apologies to Anthony. By some miracle, my manager is watching this. I wasn't sick. I went to bed at 5:30 in the morning that day. Shoot me. But I got an email back saying that everything was good, that the file would work. And that was when we entered a bit of a weird period. I didn't hear anything at all from Trent or from Joey or anything. I didn't see any pictures of the car. I had no idea what was going on. All I knew was the entry list came out for California, and Joey Gase was the driver of the number 35 One Legacy Toyota for Emmerling Gase Motorsports. So it's the same sponsor. So I'm like, they must be using my car. All this time, I'm trying to figure out if I'm going to go to California or what's going on, because I wanted to see my car race, of course. But then one day I just found it. This was the picture that they sent me of the original color.
Okay.
And this is the picture that they sent me of the updated. So I was like, yeah, that's perfect. But time passes, and eventually I received this photograph, where I didn't receive it, but it was posted on Emmerling Gase's Facebook page, which was quite clearly my car getting loaded up on the hauler. And I was either asleep, in bed, at work, doing something. And then I got pinged in my server from like 6 people. And they were freaking the fuck out. I was like, what just happened? And so I look, and I was like, I started screaming. And I immediately joined voice chat, and I was screaming because that was the time that I realized that this is real and it is happening now. And that because this has been my dream. Like I forgot to mention that this was like my dream was to get a car on track. And suddenly it's in the truck in Denver, California. So and again at this point I'm just like, shit, do I go to this race? But it was then that I got an email. Oh, we're gonna run in Las Vegas. Can you make one that has the Nevada donor network on it? I was like, yes. So I took 2 sick days and it was the same scheme, but it just needed the way it was ported in. By this time, while I'm making this car, I'm seeing pictures of my car at events for One Legacy out in California, pictures of it against that beautiful Californian sunset and sunrise and whatnot, because they did an event with One Legacy out there before the race. Then practice and qualifying days come along, and that was the first time I saw it on track. I was sitting right here exactly in this seat, watching it, streaming it on Fox on my TV or my computer monitor. And I remember watching going out for that qualifying run. I was sitting there holding my phone, recording the thing going around the track because I couldn't make it to California. But it was the most surreal experience ever. And then once the race happens, we went finishing 20th in that race. Got some good screen time when Brandon Jones packed it into the tire barrel, the sand barrels at the entrance pit road, spun right down across his nose. Joey hit the brakes and missed them. Got just seen throughout the race, whether it was, unfortunately, obviously, it's backmarked the car, so it's going a lap down at that point. But Joey still brought it home, I think, on the lead lap in 20th place. So I was more than happy with that. By this time, the Nevada Lunar car is approved and it's been sent off. And I'm booking flights. I'm going to this race. My mom's cousin lives 40 minutes. No, I don't remember what the time. I don't remember what the time and distance was. 40 miles approximately from Vegas, on the opposite side of the city where the Las Vegas Motor Speedway is. So I was like, they were more than happy to host me. So I got the flights. I flew full transparency. I took the cheapest option. We flew Frontier Airlines from Des Moines International to Las Vegas International, and landed there. First thing I see when the plane touches the ground is Trump Towers, Las Vegas, and I was like, oh, okay. But we landed off what I always refer to as the back stretch of the strip. Like, we landed, and I mean, the strip is there.
Yeah.
Like, I was looking at maps, and I was like, it is there. So we landed at like 6 p.m. in Vegas, and because I went alone. And then from McCarran International, I went over to McCarran Rent-A-Car. Being a 22-year-old trying to rent a car in Las Vegas for a weekend, on a weekend, mind you, with WWE, NASCAR, high school finals, a college basketball game, the USFL, I believe, and wrestling, high school wrestling finals, and some college baseball games going on all in Las Vegas on this weekend. I got finally through the line at Dollar Car Rentals up to the desk, terrified that they were going to say, like, oh, your rental isn't here. The dude that was at the desk was so nice. He was just like, oh, yeah, you're right here, bro. We're just going to need a down payment because you're underage. I'm 22. I can drive. I got that young driver fee of $125 a day.
Oh my God.
It ended up costing like $1,000 alone to get the car. So I finally, they said, okay, you're going to go over there into the Hertz lot and just pick one. I was like, just pick. I don't get a key. I just go get in a car. Well, all right. To my dismay, when I get up to the cars that I get to pick from, there are 3. And I was like, all right, let's get something sick. Let's get something awesome. I had a pick of 2 Ford EcoSports or a Nissan Kicks. So I picked the Kicks because I didn't want to drive the EcoSport. It's twice the weight and gets worse mileage. I didn't want to pay for California gas prices or Vegas gas prices. Yeah. So hopped in that Kicks and drove straight through to my overnight at the place that I would be staying with my mother's cousins. They are the nicest people in the world, and I cannot wait to go back out and see them. Bob and Gretchen, if you're watching this, I'm coming back. Don't you worry. But I went out there for the whole NASCAR weekend. I was going to get full immersion. I bought tickets to the Truck Series race, Xfinity. I had everything covered because I was down there with Emerald and Gase, and then I was going to the Cup race. Actually, I met another one of the guys from my Discord server at the Cup race as well. That was very cool. But Truck race was awesome. Saturday is what's important, though, because that was the day that I was going to meet my baby. So I get to the track as early as I can. And Joey's told me where the credentials trailer, or actually Las Vegas Motor Speedway told me where the credentials trailer was, because I had pit passes for that weekend's race. So I drive myself down the track. I get to the credentials. It is windy as hell, by the way, at that racetrack, because it's flat and it's off Nellis and everything. So I get to the credentials trailer. I get my stuff. I park my car. I walk in there through the tunnel, get my bags checked. Everything's good. I walk in there just as I think it was Cup Series qualifying was getting ready to begin. And I get in there to the garage area. Xfinity garages are way off the side because I was in the Cup garage. I didn't realize. But I was just walking through, looking at stuff. Like, this is really cool. It was my second time ever seeing Cup cars. First time in person, first time seeing the next gen. That car is sexy. And I walked out because the Xfinity garage didn't open until like an hour after I got there. So I got there, walked up to pit road, started chatting with one of the NASCAR officials that was out there, letting guys in and out of like the garage area and pit road. I got put behind a fence of people waiting for the Xfinity garage to open. So I sat there in front of a TV screen watching everybody go up to practice and qualifying. I watched Kyle Busch stuff it in the wall in turn 2. You have to go to a backup car. And then while I was waiting, it was almost time. As I was waiting for the garage to open, Kyle Larson just strolled by.
Ooh.
Kyle Larson is my favorite driver in Cup. So and thanks to that run-in, he was right there. I can now say that after this past weekend, where I got my picture taken with Stuart Friesen in Knoxville, I've gotten my picture taken with all 4 of my favorite NASCAR drivers, being Kyle Larson, Landon Castle, Joey Gase, and Stuart Friesen.
Wow, man. You mentioned it was windy that Vegas weekend. Didn't it also snow?
It snowed. Yes, you're correct. I'm down there on Saturday for that Xfinity race, and it fucking snowed in March in Las Vegas. And
it's like
I'm from Iowa. It was snowing at home when I left, like in middle of March. That's not abnormal. I figured we're in Las Vegas. We're in the desert. What can go wrong? Snowed on me on the pit box. But
could have been worse though. It could have been like Bristol the one year where it snowed like 3 inches.
That was
so one thing more, and then we will put a bow on everything here. This one here, aside from being a very good paint scheme designer, went viral a couple of times in the last few days, because this one here, he alluded to it a little bit earlier. He was at the Truck Series event on the dirt track at Knoxville, Iowa, which was the only NASCAR, really only NASCAR going on this weekend. And that one there, and he mentioned Stuart Friesen too, his favorite truck driver. He watched his wife flip on the berm at Knoxville, and he was the only one that caught it.
I am the man. If you have seen the video on Twitter, I am the one responsible for that footage.
Yeah, I've seen this one's name around the internet like 80 times in the last like 3 days.
It's a small world.
So I have to ask before we wrap, what does it feel like to go viral?
So first thing, I doubt Conrail watches this. Cameron Tracy. I mean, full disclosure, I gave him I posted it in my Discord server, the video that featured the clip, before I posted it on Twitter. And the second I posted it in my Discord server, he had it downloaded on his Twitter. And he credited me. He's like, credit goes to JT Designs 57 for this. And then I posted it. But his video has like 150,000 views on it or something like that. Whereas mine, I posted the same footage, has like, I don't know, like 13. But I had 70. I thought I had 52. But according to Ricochet, one of my friends, I had 72 followers when he checked right as things started to kind of get big. And by the end of the night, I had 189, I want to say, and now I'm sitting at 230 Twitter followers. So that exploded. And then when Moffitt got up on his side down the front stretch, which, by the way, Brett Moffitt did get on his side down the front stretch, I realized that Fox did not show it at all or catch it at all. Let's see, it was Tanner Gray pushed him up the track, and he climbed the wall and rode it down the front stretch before falling back onto the wheels.
The Martin Truex.
I caught footage of that as well. That's going to be uploaded on my YouTube here in, probably 75 years whenever my 4K video of Jessica's clip goes live.
That's funny.
But lightning didn't strike once, it struck twice. Technically, it struck 3 times because I caught a video of what happened to Bryson Mitchell that caused the 46 to drop out after hauling the mail around that racetrack. But he climbed from like stone dead last to 18th, I want to say, at some point.
Wow.
He was according to somebody that commented on a Twitter post that I made. He was dropping it down to or kicking it up to third gear or something in the corners, spinning the hell out of those rear wheels and getting it pointed down the back straightaway. And it sounded like it from the grandstand. He was whipping that car. Like T2G was going to get a real good finish, but then he went off into turn one and put it in the wall, and then went on. That's when I started recording. And he goes down the back straightaway, heads off into three, and just stuffed it in the wall, almost turned it over.
Oh God!
Yeah. So it's dirt racing. So when a full body car hits the wall, it ramps up on it a little bit. Also, Kaz Gralla just about flipped as well down the front stretch. He started doing the same thing that Moffitt did, but he turned left and got it off the wall. When it was
damn near had 4 flips in one race.
Bryson got it about at a 45-degree angle at one point, maybe a little bit less, 30 degrees. Moffitt was straight up on his side. I think he was past halfway, turned over at one point, and then it just set back down. But that was crazy, and then that whole race was amazing. I hope that they captured the racing as well as they did it on TV as I saw through my lens, because holy cow, that track, it's a dirt track, but I swear to God, it has 3 lanes that you can run easily.
Yep.
It was unbelievable.
Oh yeah. Knoxville was a great show last year, and it was really good this year as well.
Last thing I want to touch on before we finish things up here is just the feeling that I had in Vegas when I was filming it, and they were doing Xfinity qualifying. I was taking videos of Landon Castle. He's my favorite driver and whatnot. And then I remember I was standing down by the catch fence, and I walked up the grandstand to do something. And this is actually the day of the truck race. I got there early for trucks. I turned around when I got to the top of the grandstands, and they're pushing the 35 down pit road to its little garage or little bay. That was my first time seeing it in person, and I just stopped. I didn't go to take a picture. I just stopped and smiled and just looked at it. I leaned over on the railing and just stared at it for 25 seconds. A tear didn't come to my eye.
Wow.
But that was surreal. And then down there in the garage the next day, I helped push the car out to the grid. I was standing out there beside Joey during the national anthem. The people at the damn credentials trailer. Hold on. Let me grab this pit pass real quick.
We got him started now. Here we go.
Okay. Full respect to everybody at Las Vegas Motor Speedway. They did an amazing job. For reference, this was my pit pass because I got pit passes for Knoxville. This was my pit pass for Knoxville.
Yeah.
This was my pit pass for Las Vegas. You notice anything missing?
Oh, wow.
This little tag allows you to be over pit wall with the race car. If you don't have it, you stay behind the pit wall.
Wow.
They forgot to give it to me in Las Vegas. So when I tried to go over the pit wall, the NASCAR official started screaming at me like, you gotta whatever pass. You gotta stay over here. I was like, all right. So what do? Walk 100 yards down pit road and hop over the wall. Nobody said a word. I tucked it into my shirt, and I was like, you know what? I'm seeing this damn car, and if a NASCAR official wants to come up to me and tell me to get back over the wall, I'm going to say, look, buddy, I'm from half the country away. This is my first time having a race car on the racetrack, and you're going to have to pry my cold, dead body off pit road.
And that is how your face would have got broke in a concrete pit stall.
Exactly right. But I was out there and seeing it race. It was gorgeous. It finished 22nd. Car ran one more time, this time on a Ford body in Richmond, Virginia, where I actually sent Lamey to that race with his brother. Pit passes courtesy of Emerling Gase. Joey's a dream to work with. And they ran 34th that day, but we don't talk about that. The front geometry was way off on that car, but they've since gotten that car faster. But just an absolute dream come true. And I missed out on a chance to design 3 trucks for Knoxville. They were very close to coming through, but not quite. But now that I've accomplished the dream of getting a car on track, I have to evolve. I have to change my dream because it's already come true. So what is it now? Call me overzealous, but the dream now, I've got an Xfinity car. You know where this is going.
Cup.
I've got to get a truck, and I've got to get a cup car.
Mm-hmm. And you're gonna do it, man.
And I think I'm close for trucks. I think trucks is gonna be a breakthrough at some point.
You're gonna
cup is the big kuba.
You're gonna do it, and I dare say you're gonna do it before the year wraps.
I would be.
You're gonna get both a truck and a cup scheme on.
We'll see.
The year wraps.
We will see. I hope you're right. But I also kind of hope you're not right, because I don't think I'm going to be able to make it to any tracks anytime for the rest of the year.
Ah,
I gotta make it to see my cars race, but sometime in the near future, hopefully. But if it takes a while, it takes a while. It took me 10 years to get one on track, so we'll keep cranking.
so Jordan, thank you for
you.
being guest number 1 on the Winner's Circle. And to those of you who are watching, who watch this live or will watch this on the replay, shout out Replay Squad, please let me know either in the comments or through direct message or whatever, how you like this idea, if you think this idea has legs. And
if anybody has questions for me, JT Designs 57 on Twitter and at Jordan Tiegs Designs on Instagram, I will answer any messages that are sent.
Yes. So again, for those of you who watched, please leave a comment or a message for me. Say if you like this show, what I should be doing differently, if there's anything we could be doing differently at all with this show. And if we get a positive response here in about a month's time, we'll start doing these. I'm wanting to do this show twice a month, and it won't be live like this. It'll be taped, and it won't be on Monday nights. It'll be on Friday nights. So that is something exciting coming up. So Jordan, again, thank you for coming on, and to all of you out there who commented and showed love, thank you for coming out. Take care. Much love. God bless. And all